All right, you guys ready? You boys ready?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Let's get.
As ready as I will be, I guess.
That was so
I
depressing.
don't know if that was like him letting out the "I wish I wasn't fucking on this podcast anymore," or if this was a he's tired or what. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that covers and reviews every single video game movie under the sun and beyond the stars. My name is Ethan, and with me always to see our inner selves is Devin. How's it going? How you doing?
If the world continues to go on this way, it will rot.
That is true. And standing here with us to the end of time, we're almost graduated from school, is David. How are you doing?
Dying just means I don't open my eyes tomorrow. That's all.
Very dark quotes we have here.
I was picking between two, and Devin went dark, so I picked my dark one.
I appreciate that you guys have ones in the wings to see what the vibe is before, just picking your default one.
I always try to pick one that either relates to our current modern world or something that relates to what I think the review will be. And that's always been my
Or sometimes they're a shot
Dark.
at me. They're a direct response to me in particular.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my other one is not that great. I just said, as I've said, students like that are dead to me.
Well, I also had Don't You Recognize Us? Because I was going to be playing on David not recognizing any of these characters.
Right.
Yes.
So,
yeah, we'll get into that.
for folks at home that blindly clicked on this YouTube video, thank you. Like and subscribe while you're at it. And don't know what we're talking about today. Here on the Sonic Movie Show, we review video game-based movies. And 2 years in a row, and this being the third, Devin and I have reviewed the Persona 3 movies. The Persona 3 video game had been split up into 4 anime films, and today we're watching the third of which is titled, in full, Persona 3, the movie number 3, Falling Down, because the first two were seasons-based, spring and summer, and so now this is fall. Spoilers, the fourth one's title has winter in the name.
I did not, honestly, I thought this was the last one. I totally forgot about the seasons, play on words there, and I just did not.
The second
think about it that
movie's
way.
play on word Midsummer Night, but with a K. Not as cool.
I
Yeah.
don't even know,
forgot
it doesn't
about
even
it,
look
too.
like fall in this movie.
It's,
I know they get
it's
fall
Japan,
in Japan.
True.
and
They get fall there.
their school
leaves
years
change.
also are different starting points. So I don't know.
Maybe
But,
it was September 1st, and they just haven't. No, it literally does show us the day. I think it was November.
It's
and It
November.
does not look like
Yeah,
November.
yeah. So as we always start off with these, we talk a little bit about the video game itself and our experience with it. This was my movie, so I'll just kind of start off first. And if folks watch the other two Persona 3 movie reviews, not much has changed from my perspective, and I imagine Devin's perspective. We'll see David's perspective in a second here. He's got a connection he doesn't realize. I know he's smiling because he knows the answer is nothing. Yes, the Persona video games have been around the block for a while. I have played maybe a fourth of this game, so I have not played the contents of this movie. I played most of Persona 4, experienced a bit of Persona 5, and I played a bit of the PSP remake of Persona 1. I have never finished a single one of these games, and I know in the past on these, I brought up the homophobia and transphobia stuff that the creator has, and some of these games, pretty much all of the games he's worked on, besides the latest game, that Metaphor ReFantazio that came out last year, has had very obvious gay panic and transphobic shit in it that makes some of the games hard to kind of just accept face value without you being nah, I'm not going to read it this way. I'm choosing to throw what you have to say out the window, out the door. So putting all that aside, I will say in the past I've made the very hyperbolic statement that I find the Persona games to be extremely overrated in terms of what hardcore gamers are concerned. And I will just say my little piece on it now is the games go back and forth between, if folks don't know what Persona kind of does, it's a JRPG series bunch of kids in high school. Each game is like a few years later, and it's a different group of kids, and they got their own things going on. Kids in high school, and you go back and forth between JRPG, dungeon crawling, fighting shadow monsters, gaining experience, fusing arcanas, fusing personas, which has this Pokemon element of like you're acquiring these guys and like they're on your team, they're part of your magic skill base, these personas, but then you can fuse them together to make stronger ones. So don't get too attached because you'll never see them again because you're literally fusing them together. It goes back and forth between that element, the dungeon crawling stuff, and like literally like school life simulation, hanging out with friends on a calendar base. What they show in this movie of the day advancing is literally
you even do homework if you want or get a job.
Yes, studying, like managing your time as a student. Hanging out with friends, increasing your social links to then allow you to then the stuff kind of goes back and forth like
networking.
As you
as some of us call it, networking.
Yes. As you choose to hang out with certain people, a certain arcana increases in rank, which is tied to certain groups of personas, which make them stronger. So like, yes, they both of these two systems feed back into each other a little bit, but I personally have never found them to gel too well. I've only either wanted to do one or the other, and then the other gets in the way. I just want to do the dungeon crawling, but like I gotta stop because these kids are tired, and then like shoot, I gotta study for class now, and then I just want to advance the story. I just want to go and kind of watch this story play out. I don't want to play the dungeon. Like I go back and forth between which ones I like, and I've never liked both at once before. So me personally, I don't feel like they gel as well. But that being said, this is a very beloved franchise. It kind of blew up with Persona 5, and so then retroactively, Persona 4 and 3 get very popular. Persona 1 and 2 don't really have the whole school life simulation. They are high school kids, but it's more like the parent series, Shin Megami Tensei, which I know David played one of those games, where it is about fighting demons and the like, and bartering with demons and having that kind of Pokemon element being more like as a party member thing. Persona takes those demons and makes them personas and have them be basically magic attacks. You summon them to do the damage as opposed to them being on a team with you. All the kids are on your team and the like. That I have not much has changed. I will just say, because we've been reviewing these once a year, I'll just say for the sake of Persona 3, when we reviewed the first Persona 3 movie, at that point in time, I believe the PSP kind of remake / port of Persona 3, which was a PlayStation 2 game back in the day, that PSP port got like remastered and put on modern consoles and PC. I think that was fresh, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to play some of that. Did not play much of it. A year later, they had announced the actual full-blown remake of Persona 3, Persona 3 Reload. And then now, a year later, that game has come out as well as its DLC has come out. So I don't know, maybe by the time we review this fourth and final movie next year, maybe, they'll announce something else that's crazy. But I think that's kind of funny to say. So that's my experience with the Persona games. Devin, you had a little bit of experience. Why don't you tell us what Persona means to you?
I was going to say Persona my experience with Persona hasn't changed since I think even the first time we talked about it. I did play a lot of Persona 4. I didn't really like it. It was just one of those games something else came out, or I just got busy with something else and never went back to, and I was like, oh, I don't even remember where I left off. And
right.
But I did appreciate the game for what it was. I did I did actually find the high school like drama and shit way more entertaining than I thought I would. I thought I was gonna go in being like, I'm gonna like the dungeon crawling, and I wound up actually kind of hating the grind of it. And I was like, I don't care, dude. I need to talk about what the hell's happening at school today. I don't give a fuck about these fucking monsters that come out at midnight or whatever. I'm like, I want to know more about this murder mystery more directly, and I want like to go to my basketball club or whatever I was part of. Like I just wanted to do that. And I really did like that kind of role playing, I guess, a little bit in that aspect. It was pretty funny, but yeah, I mean, I haven't touched a Persona game since that time, and that was before we watched the first movie. I guess maybe for David, in terms of watching these movies, I think Ethan was higher on them generally than I was. I was kind of just like,
But we
they're
C
fine,
and
but
D
we'll
is
get
what we
it.
gave them. We weren't
Okay,
crazy because I think if I remember actually we can look this up.
we have a
um,
sheet.
we have a sheet. If I recall, we gave Persona 1 a C, and then the first Persona 3 movie. Let me see. Let me look it up. We
But
gave we gave the first Persona 3 movie a D and the second one a C.
okay, yeah, I didn't remember.
I
The
thought it was
rankings
reversed,
offhand.
but yeah.
That is actually interesting that it's the opposite. I don't remember. But to be honest, going into this movie, I'm like, fuck, dude. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you one character's name. I'm like, I don't remember where we left off. And obviously, the movie picks up in a certain spot. I'm like, did we leave off here? I don't remember. So I will say that for my review of this movie, once we get into it,
Sure.
I'll just say, I think there's a slight unfairness on my own part of just. I don't remember what happened in the first two things. Granted, I didn't really enjoy them that much, so maybe that's part of it. But I think to a certain degree, just even for the probable fourth one that we eventually do, that I'm just not gonna remember. I feel like these movies are one of those things you watch back to back.
I
or you're a
remember
super fan
Dirtbag
and
Jesus.
you watch them.
I
Yeah, once I saw him,
yeah,
but
I was like, oh yeah, I remember.
but
that
yeah.
guy.
I don't want to get too much into review,
Sure.
because I know that wasn't the original question. But yeah, Personas, whatever. In terms of a thing for me, I guess at this point, I mean, it's cool that people like it. Hasn't been something I played. It is one of those things I've thought about maybe getting for like my Switch at some point, and just that might be a good flight game, but.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe
I don't
by
know.
the time we review this fourth, movie, Persona 3 Reload will be cheap enough. You know what I mean? On a sale and get it for cheap, and you already know the story, so like maybe it'll be easier to go through.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
David,
but yeah.
Persona. Have you ever heard of this franchise before? It is insanely popular, but only as of like the past decade did it get insanely popular.
I thought I had heard of it, but I think I was mixing it up with another game that you and Devin have
Persona.
played. For what?
Yeah, we all have. We're all furries. I'm an octopus.
No, I don't remember the name of the game I was thinking it was, but it was like a weird mind-bending game that you guys were playing where it was like robots, but they actually had souls or something.
Oh,
Anyway,
Nier.
You're thinking of Nier.
Yeah.
Nier Automata, yeah. I thought it was going to be that, so I was a little bit confused. It did kind of remind me of the game that you had gifted me. I don't remember the name of it.
Shin
but you mentioned
Megami
it.
Tensei 5 from the Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
We both
Yeah,
fell
which
off around
I-
the same part in that game, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah, it
It
got
got
kind
too
of
long
grindy.
and too hard.
Um,
Yeah, very hard, and like you really do need to
yeah.
grind. Yeah. Sorry.
Which, yeah, I just don't have time for it. But it was fun while it lasted. But it reminded me heavily of that with these like demon things that they're controlling or using for the attacks or whatever. But that's really all I have in terms of knowledge about Persona is nothing. Or like similar things that I thought it was.
Yeah, Persona started as a spin-off series in the Shin Megami Tensei thing, but then became way too popular because guess what? Guess what becomes super popular amongst teens? Stories about teens, you know what I mean? Like, and their struggles and that stuff way more than like adults. Which is why like the Persona team made that game Metaphor ReFantasio, and I was surprised to see that the characters in that game, while some of them are fantasy, like depictions of elves and whatnot, are like adults. Like the youngest is your main character, and he's like 25 or something. Young,
He's
like that.
33. He's still
exactly,
young.
Exactly. So surprised, like, oh,
Still
you
very
actually
young.
can write stories that are not about like children. Which is fine, but I feel like as far as anime is concerned, so much anime is about that. Like, I'm a kid in high school, and I really don't know what the meaning of that is, if that's just like there's just this
I feel like
cultural
maybe just a lot of young
remembrance
people watch
or is it
or
just
read
super
manga.
relatable to everyone because we all did it? I don't know. So for me, like with some of the Persona stuff is like, all right, I like a lot of these characters, so like I'm cool with it, but like I am kind of over the high school anime stuff, you know what I mean? But Persona, I believe they were the first I was aware of where like, hey, this is translated into English, these games, but like not everything translates cleanly. A lot of the honorifics, like saying senpai or sensei or like, you know, older brother, older sister. We don't say older brother, but like there they have, you know, an honorific for that. You know what I mean? So like they actually wove those in and just like, no, your younger, you know, sister in Persona 4 is going to call you Oni-chan because it seems better than saying big bro. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff.
Oni-chan Bara.
Yes, that was. Hey, there's the sequel to that we will, if we complete our goal of watching every video game movie, we watch the sequel to Oni Chambara, Samurai Bikini Zombie Slaying Squad, or whatever that movie was titled. So let's talk about Persona 3, the movie number 3, Falling Down. This was my pick. This was our last.
Can I just say this
draft.
was hard to find.
Really?
The fact that it's Persona 3, number 3.
You're on Amazon like with the remote having to cycle and type the whole thing
I had to like
out.
Google it because I had to put in the exact thing, and then I ended up having to order it on my phone to get it to show up on my TV app.
Oh, you were able to find it. Sorry. I wasn't even. That's where I found the version on that we posted in Discord. It was on Vimeo or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Professor Layton.
The other movie.
Sorry,
that's our next movie review. I had a Blu-ray rip of this, but I don't think it was ever dubbed in English, which is kind of crazy to me because of how popular the franchise was at the point that these movies were coming out.
Y'all can read,
but I did. I did read. No, I just translated it and said it out loud. You know, as all the characters.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And then listen to yourself.
Yes. So, okay. So this was my last draft pick in our big season here on the Sonic Movie Show. This is my final pick. And it was born a little bit out of obligation because, like, all right, we do have to watch all of the movies in general. Like, that is the goal. We'll see if that ever happens. I don't think we're going to slow down anytime soon. And it's like, yeah, we should probably get through this. So I picked it. Despite knowing that we gave the prior two a D and a C. And going into this movie, so my expectations were about the same with those. I wasn't expecting anything crazy. Going into it, I will say this, and this is true for at least all three so far. I imagine the fourth one will be the same. I think it's a huge disservice they're doing to the story by just chopping. Like, I get it, like, this came to an arc, this came to a conclusion, this one movie, and the first one did. I remember how the first one ended, because they were saving Fuka, the kind of green-haired girl, at the end of that one, and I don't really remember how the second one ended. But, like, I understood, like, I understand what the whole story is. Oh, they gotta fight these shadows, and there's a big, huge boss shadows. They gotta stop them all, and then, like, the dark hour goes away. That was the kind of whole thing. I remembered that, but, like, the fact that these 4 movies take one story and chop them up so, like, too cleanly, and then they expect you to have played the game or know the story because, like, they don't provide enough context. Like, these characters I don't need a full-blown reintroduction of each character, but, like, a little bit of context on, like, when this character is on screen for the first time and someone's addressing them, add a little bit of context of, like, just saying the person's name. You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously we've seen plenty of stories that cleverly do that type of exposition that doesn't feel too natural, but, like, this is like, hey, we're allowing the audience to just easily ease into knowing who these two are, what the relationship is, that type of thing. This movie didn't do that at the beginning, which was, like, I knew all of the characters, even the ones that came after the parts in the game I played. I know, you know, some of those are. Besides the villains, I didn't know who they were. I guess they're not as popular. People don't draw them as much online, I guess. So I literally know them as Dirtbag Jesus, the nerd, and then the girl who cuts herself. Jesus. So, you know, going in, wasn't expecting too much. I will say this, though. I'm actually, for the first point in my video game movie ranking career life, I'm torn. I'm a little split here. I'll just say I'll just give out my letter grade right now. I'm sitting at a C, but I can easily be convinced of a D or a B. I'm in this weird spot where I'm like, and let me explain.
Interesting. I'm intrigued.
I'm like kind of right in the middle there because like as the entire thing, I'm like, this was fine. This was okay. But like there's really good stuff and then really like stuff as well. I really like the fact that and this is because this is I guess the third kind of quarter of a 4-part story, so to speak. There's a lot of fallout and ramifications of that stuff that had happened, and so we're seeing a lot of characters like thematically going through grief and that post-loss kind of how do you move on with your life type of stuff, and is there still stuff to do? What do I do? That type of stuff, and there's a lot of that stuff going on, and I thought a lot of that stuff was really good. And it certainly helps if you knew these characters from the first 2 movies or played the game to really understand, like, oh yeah, these 2 girls both had fathers that were deep into this science stuff that had gone wrong, and now they're both dead, and now these 2 girls, are they going to move on and, like, finish, what their fathers kind of started? Are they going to do that stuff? You have Akihiko, who is like the boxer dude, and his friend died in the last movie, and he's trying to move on from that. And we have all of this stuff, which I think is really cool and really good. But on the torn stuff, it really does feel like not much happens in this movie because of how the story is structured. Like they don't want this to be the last one, so they can't really do much. And we spent a lot of time kind of, I don't want to say faffing about, but like a lot of like the school day type of stuff comes in, which is cool just to watch as like slice of life stuff. But like it doesn't really feels like we're kind of just treading water while everyone kind of has these seemingly sometimes random flares of drama and whatnot. So like that's where I'm at. I'm like straight as like this is fine, but like I see really good cool stuff I really liked, but then they're like it's just structured in a lot of ways where I'm like well, like I
guess that's what C has always been, is like 50-50. I mean, it's not always 50-50, but that's why I feel like we always put so much in that range.
So I'm curious to know what you think, because like I can be dragged up or down, honestly. I want to start with Dave. I don't think he ever goes at least second often. I think I usually a pitch to Devin, so he'll stay that way. He'll go third. So Devin, no, too funny to pass up. David, what did you think about this movie, having not seen the first 2?
I think you already touched on it, that it's like very hard to I don't know any of the characters' names. I like generally know who they are a little bit through the story, but man, I mean, I guess maybe I should give points to that last anime or whatever it was called that I said that that I said the recap was too quick. At least I give a recap, I guess. So this was like, I sort of learned it through the story, but man, it was tough in the beginning. I thought there was going to be like this intro, and then they're going to like jump into, oh, like this is this character, this is this character. It was just going to be like a starting cool scene, but that was not the case. I agree with your opinion that it was kind of too long. I think this could have been like an A tier or B tier if it was like a TV show episode, like 30 minutes. Like if they cut it down to 30 minutes, this could have been actually pretty good, I think. There was just the whole middle part with the school stuff, which I didn't understand why they were doing that at all. I guess it makes sense now that you tell me that's like part of the games. I didn't know that at all, obviously. So it just felt like it dragged on and on in the middle. And it just I didn't really know the purpose of it. It made sense a little bit at the end when like, oh, this guy who's like friends with everyone, he ends up being like the bad guy, spoilers. But so that, I guess that kind of made sense, but I don't know, it just felt too long. They could have cut a lot out of it, even though this is like an hour and a half movie, and we generally say, which I agree with you guys on, is like that's like a good spot for a movie that could be good or bad. But I don't know. I mean, I think some of the stuff was interesting. I mean, immediately wild that how they summon these demons is like shooting themselves in the head. Whoa, that was like, what? The first time I saw that, I was like, what the hell are they doing? They're like killing themselves, but these aren't like guns. These are like weird things.
Spirit guns.
Spirit guns, like insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess personally, I think I'm either a low C or a high D. I don't think everything in this movie was boring, but I think there was a large 50 to 60% that was like real boring.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off you're talking about length, it is Persona 4 had an anime adaptation. I think it was just a single season, but they took that game story and they did it as a TV show, which I believe, I might be wrong, folks in the comments can correct me, came out before these Persona 3 movies did. And I think Persona 5 either is starting one or had one that's also a show. Persona 3 never did the show thing. They did these 4 movies, and I'm kind of with you. I guess I would either want it to have been a show or one movie. Either, and then there's all like that's the problem with video games, as you know we've discovered with this 50 plus movies we reviewed, is that some of the long like RPGs, like their stories are too long for a movie. They're book length, you know what I mean? Like they're closer to books than they are to movies or shows. So yeah, it's you struggle trying to shove everything into one movie. You're going to be cutting things, but like. You could cut a lot,
or you just pick the themes out and you just adapt off of that, and you just
Absolutely.
make either new characters or be like, hey, the game is a 300-hour game, folks. Like this movie's only 2 hours. So
here are the highlights. We're going to tell a story with the things you guys like the most.
As long as the themes or the character arcs are the same, maybe I'm sure enough people would be happy enough with that. But I don't know. There's always the super nerds.
There's always people who are like, the book is always better than the movie because they cut this. I'm like, yeah, because the movie's 2 hours, lady. Like, what are you expecting, or guy, or NB, whatever. But yeah, and like Persona is like has a huge fan base of anime style fan base that like they really like the characters and they like their personalities and how they kind of bounce off of each other, and like that stuff is really important to them. So like I can see them, those types of fans being like, no, I need to see this scene in the movie and this scene in the movie and this scene in the movie. I get it. Like the whole school trip that they do, like I can see that being a big point of contention if they were to skip it, especially since, story-wise, yes, there is stuff going on that's beyond the actual thing there. So yeah, I don't know. Just before Devin went in, I just wanted to say like, yeah, I would rather the whole thing be a show or just one movie. I think would have served it better. But I don't know, Devin. What did you think about this movie? Having been a veteran watching the first two.
A veteran. No, I mean, it's funny David brought up like the they kind of kill themselves as some of the thing, and that was like one of my first. I didn't know if it was a critique at the time. I still don't know if I like it or dislike it.
I know it rubbed you the wrong way in the first movie.
Yeah, I kind of felt like, I kind of got used to it, I guess, by the second one. I was like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to tell... I mean, I could be rubbed the wrong way, but I'm not going to tell, like, the artist to be like, oh, you got to censor your visual of a, I mean, this all... But I'll just say this, like, this movie, I think, was even more so, once again... At the top, I mentioned the first 2 movies. I don't really remember too much, so it might have been in that, I'm sure as well. But I feel like just more in this movie, especially the first half, is a very like nihilistic, almost cathartic telling of it's very suicidal. Is like the best way I could describe it, and like that's obviously a theme with all these games, especially with our main character of Yuki there. And I guess I'm not as rubbed the wrong way anymore about it. But at the same time, it's not a story I am interested in personally. I feel like I don't know. There's plenty of things I've done a nihilistic or just like mental health kind of thing without being over the top about it. And like I said, I'm not necessarily against it being over the top. It's just not for me personally. Like I just feel like it's pretty cathartic. I think we could have got the message down.
It's about finding connections, right? That's what I feel like this whole series wants to do.
But it is very like I said, cathartic, and I feel like this movie was just extra cathartic, but then it just stops being cathartic and goes to a whole like 15-minute scene about an onsen, and they don't want the girls to see them, and it just the pacing, and I get it, like that, like anime tropes and all that, or we need to make it funny here and there. It's still just like I just, maybe this is my critique of the medium itself, is I think it's really hard for me to go from something very melodramatic, I guess, then go to something that's like supposed to be very humorous and lighthearted.
Yeah.
It's just like, nah, dude, like it just doesn't, the vibes are off. Like I'm kind of like just like in a weird mood, and then we're watching this and I'm like, oh, now we're horny. Like I like what
There's no transition between them.
it didn't feel like a transition. That's one of my biggest things with this movie, and just the movies in general, is like I feel like they go into the anime things of like trying to be funny, or oh, the boys will be boys kind of humor, which is fine, but then like we go from that to just like really dark like shit, and it just, I don't think the vibes work, just straight up. I think it's really hard to do those two things. There's dark humor that you can do, I feel like, that where people have or movies have done in the past, where it's like, hey, we can talk about suicide, but in a way that is somewhat humorous, in a kind of twisted way, but dark humor, right? This didn't feel like that. I feel like they just didn't execute on that for me personally. And that's like my biggest issues with all three of these movies, is that like the vibes are just all over the place for me while I'm watching this. And I feel like if you're trying to do a message, it kind of just feels almost like, well, don't worry about the message too much, guys, because like the ladies, like, hey, like it's like I don't know.
That stuff I feel like probably works better in the game, where you're spending time not playing it, and it just feels like a longer experience overall. But so like when you try to do all that in a movie, like like I can.
Or I agree, like a TV show where like maybe there is one episode that's kind of tells you right away, like it's gonna be a happy episode, and then like, okay, we're really gonna focus on Yuki or whatever, like his mental health again. Like I don't know, just like it just was a very cathartic movie for me. Like I did like the anime aspects of it though, in terms of the action and some of those ways they were telling the story. But I just felt it was cathartic, and then they just kept tone switching after a certain point, and it made me kind of be like, ugh, like I don't. It's hard for me to care because I don't know what's really important or not important. I mean, I did like the ending, I guess, of what's his name getting shot, because I didn't expect that, so I'll give him credit for that. I wasn't expecting him to get killed, and then, but part of me kind of wanted him to die just because for the sake of the story, because I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and I'm like, oh no, she's gonna heal him because they've showed this throughout the film that she can heal people. Of course, she sacrificed herself, so I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just came out of this movie being like, there's some cool stuff, cool anime stuff that I like, but then I feel like the story itself is just very cathartic, and the tones just don't match up for me, or aren't blended well enough together to make me appreciate the story as a whole, or what its themes of what it's trying to tell. Because like I do like the idea of like, hey, how can we talk about connection and talk about like, hey, we can't close ourselves off to people even when you're depressed or whatever, and don't be just locking yourself away. Like I like that, but I feel like I've seen other stories do a better job of that, and also try not to I don't know, then throw in random jokes or a whole 15-minute, like I said, onsen scene that just felt out of place in terms of tone.
I will just say I did find the part in the hot spring thing funny when Iori is the kid who gets shot at the end, when it's revealed like, oh no, my towel fell away, and they're acting like they're in like Vietnam, and like we can't leave you behind. Like I found some of that stuff to be funny, but I agree with you overall on a lot of that. That's where I'm kind of like torn, because I think there was some cool stuff in here. But like the whole kind of structure of it doesn't quite work.
I guess I feel like I crapped on a little too much, but I'll say one thing I liked with all these movies, and this one too, is I've always loved the color palette. I love that, like when it's midnight, they have like a green hue and everything. Yeah. I think that's really spooky, and like that's totally my vibe. Like I would love to live in a world where it's green at night like that. That'd be pretty sick. But and like I said, like all the monsters, which I'm sure are from the games, all look really cool and unique and one of a kind. I could tell them apart. You know, they all have their own kind of like theme going for them,
Yeah.
which, you know, compared to, I don't know, like if it was some other, I'm trying to think. I feel like sometimes you could easily fall in the trap of like they all have to look like they're connected and then they kind of blend together.
Sure.
So I kind of like that they're, and still even when I play the games, is like, I don't know where these freaks come from, but they're cool. I don't like, they feel like they come from different realities, and I think that's really cool. But sorry, I just wanted to, I forgot to mention I did like the artwork and like I said, the actual visual arts of it all. Everything looked great.
Every so how the game, for a couple things I'll say just to give some little bit of context. You know, all of these Persona games, they are separate from one another. They're not connected. They are the same world, and in spin-offs and like, oh, they meet up kind of thing. Like the Persona 4 fighting game had the characters from 3 who are now a little bit older because they're not in high school. It's the kids from Persona 4, and you know, they're in there, that type of stuff. And so like, and also like, while the overall, I think, thing the series wants to do is talk about making connections with people, the other part of that is different. Like, this is the darker kind of game. Persona 4 is much more about change within yourself, as opposed to like having that nihilistic view of like, I want to be someone else than who I am, but I can't not be somewhat of me. You know what I mean? There's some of that in that game, but there's that, and like how they summon their personas in 4 and 5 is not with a gun-shaped object. It is different in those games as well. So this one does stand out a little bit more like that. And each of your party members, each of these kids has their own singular persona, but the main character is you acquire a bunch of them, so they're always different. That's how Yuki Makoto, our main dude there with the blue hair, was always using different ones, because they probably were like, hey, we should show this one, we should show this one, we should show this one. I like a lot of the persona designs. I think my favorite is that the dog's persona is Cerberus, the 3-headed hellhound. I like that, because I never had him in the game because I didn't get that far. So that was me seeing that one for the first time. Unless it was in the last movie, I didn't remember that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I do like what you're saying, Devin. I like the kind of animation style as well. I like the colors. And this is funny. I don't really remember caring too much about like the action in the first two. So maybe that's why, because this one doesn't have too much of it in it, I like this one a little bit more because of that.
More impactful.
Because we're yeah. It like we open up with like, okay, we're going through the thing. Hey, we defeated the 12th shadow. Hey, now our thing is over. Yay, we did it. Oh, turns out it was actually the flip side. You weren't supposed to kill them all. It's a Shadow of the Colossus type of story.
Classic.
Doing that actually makes the bad guys win, so to speak. Yeah, so like, and then we fight Dirtbag Jesus again at the end there. Or we fight him a couple times. I don't remember what his deal is at all. I think he just
I don't know if he got kicked out of Nirvana or something. I don't know what his deal is.
And his name is not Dirtbag Jesus. I just don't remember what his actual name is.
That's what it translates to, though.
I thought it
was... Probably.
Was it Takai, and then in Jin was the other guy. Or maybe it was switched.
Oh,
I think one of those is it. Yes, Takai.
Jin being the nerd guy? You think?
I think.
Okay.
Gin and Juice.
The green.
Yeah.
Gin and Jesus. There we go. We figured it out.
I need every Sunday morning.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, does anyone have anything particular they kind of want to point out? I feel like, honestly, you guys brought up a lot of the parts that I remembered I wanted to say.
I just, like, before we even, like, rank it, though, like, for me, it's, like, because, like, David pointed out, and I briefly said it, but, you know, and I don't know how to rank this, because, I mean, we have watched other sequels, or like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe, if you're watching a Resident Evil live action movie. We've watched those, and it's like, I mean, David, I know you talked about it a bit, but I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to say about, like, as a standalone thing, because that's what we're going to rank it on, as a standalone thing, and, like, I think there is a certain level, I don't know what that level is, but there is a certain level of I think you have to tell a story, because you can't assume everyone has seen the first first or second.
And,
And I think
like,
it goes to any story you tell. Like I think there
that's
has to
how
be
we have
some-
to approach it for sure. I don't think it was
You
ever
know?
presented like with the expectations of someone watching this one on its own without watching the others or experiencing the games.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not really fair to the whole project experience, but that's just how it is. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Someone
Like, I
can
don't know what
buy
that
this
line
movie
is, though.
and watch this movie on its own.
And I think that's
so,
and I think
like,
that's what my line is. Like I'm trying to find of like, and I think that's where David, I think you'll be important here, which is like,
Yeah.
how much do we grade a movie on a scale of continuity and understanding if we don't watch the other two? Like we have, but like I don't think it's unfair to also be like, you can I think you should be allowed to watch something as a standalone and have an opinion on it. You can't be like, well, if you watch the other first two movies, you should understand it, because they didn't have some sort of, I think they could have put a 5-minute like recap of
agreed.
just like
I was expecting that.
of like who's doing what, and they didn't do that. And that's why I said at the beginning, where I was like, I guess like it could be like slightly unfair that like maybe if we watched these movies more back to back, it'd be more cohesive. But I would argue then maybe it wasn't as memorable if we don't remember anything, even if it was a year ago. Like I feel like, I don't know, I went and saw Dune Part 2, and I did see Dune Part 1 like a week before again, but at the same time I did remember a lot of that movie, and I could tell you what the characters' motives and stuff were. So I'm just using it as an example of just.
And that was one book split into 2 movies, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, for a lot of
there is
the
no,
other
like,
sequels that we
recap.
watch here on the Sonic Movie Show, they are like, hey, this is the next game, or now this gets a movie. This isn't like, this is a special case where it is one video game that was already told a decade prior to them making these movies, and then being like, cool, we're gonna make 4 movies out of this. How do you do that? And it's a little.
And I was gonna say is that, but though to be fair, that second movie does just kind of immediately go. There is no recap either, but I feel like there's still elements of the story that you'll pick up on quicker, or be like, okay, what are these people doing? What are these people doing? But at the same time, I think there's an argument against that too, where it's like, no, I think you will not understand some things happening in that movie too, and that's just an example of something I really like.
Or like
I'm trying to find that
Avengers, those last
or
two
any of the
Avengers
Marvel
movies.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where it's
like where is that line of critique that we need to like have? And I don't know where it is myself. When you watch something standalone of a sequel or a third movie installment, it's like watching Harry Potter 6 or whatever and being like, can I still critique this at the same level of story continuity? I don't know. If I don't understand any of these characters' motives.
So like my opinions on that is, while I do think so I say this, maybe it is nihilistic, I don't know. But I've said this many times here on the podcast that the artist is gone. As soon as the art is done, the artist is gone, and only the audience remains. It doesn't necessarily matter what the artist's intent was, or what their thought was, or what they think of their own work. They're not you who is experiencing it. It is your opinions and what you take out of it, which is what ultimately is the result. So that's really the only thing that does matter. So putting that into perspective here, it is both equally valid to have an opinion on this one movie without seeing the other two, but at the same time, as a person who like watches lots of stuff and seeing things, I do think your opinion is better, whether you think higher or lower of the thing, if you do see the other two. That's just how it is. Watching
I meant more
Harry
just
Potter
on the
6,
scale of
yes, like
the story
you
itself.
You do understand more, and therefore like things will make more sense to you having the whole context of the series prior to it. And in this special case of like, this is literally like the third quarter of a story that was already told, you know what I mean? And that like, yes, like having the context of the first two movies, is important to have to make an opinion of this. It isn't required, and you can still have it on its own, which is why I'm actually glad. I know initially when we did the draft, I had in notes like, hey, if this movie does get picked, David, just keep in mind this is part 3. If you want to watch those other two, you can. We ain't going to make you watch them beforehand. And I'm actually kind of glad that he didn't, just for the sake of having this varied of perspective here. So I say all this to say that like it is equally valid to have an opinion and to like have because
I wasn't
it's a thing you can
not
buy
have
and
an
watch.
opinion, but just like I don't know, like when it comes to like story and all that, like I don't know the answer of like what is like how much do we weigh that critique in the sense of when we even just not remembering it. I don't know.
I think
how much
they're
to
on
put
two
that
different
into
tracks.
stock.
I think they're on two different tracks. There is the individual, story that we paid for and watched, right? And then there is this series as a whole, which you are not expected, but assumed to have partaked in up to until this point. Like, they can't force you to go back and watch the other two.
And remember it.
Well, yes,
too.
and these, by the way, these did release like a year after
each
other.
It's 2013, 2014,
This one was
and this one was
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
10-year anniversary.
So they didn't
Damn.
release them like at once or like month by month, but then at the same time, this is an adaptation on a video game. Did you play the video game? Some of these movies just assume no. Some of these movies assume yes. Because why else would you watch Persona 3, the movie number 3 Falling Down, if you haven't played Persona 3? But that's just the way we roll. I saw to answer your kind of thing there. I think that's two separate tracks. I think it's two different mind states, and they're both kind of equal there. Because at the other hand, too, like what we're kind of doing right now, in a way, is a bit of a product review. In a way, do we recommend this for someone to watch? They're either spending money or just time and money and time, right? Do we recommend that? And that's where that one tract of like, this is its thing on its own. Do we like it? You know what I mean? So all that is to say, this is an S rank, right?
But no, like Dave, I don't know if you agree with any of that or what your thoughts
Yeah.
are. Because main framing was like, you talked about it, but I want to hear maybe more, I guess, if there is more.
I think in the way that Ethan framed it, being two tracks, the one track of the overall story of these four movies doesn't come across at all. I have no idea what the ultimate goal before this was. I have no idea what the implications after this is. Why does it matter that he's here? What is the one big shadow demon? I don't know. None of that comes through, and I think the beginning of the movie is very confusing because of that. Now, at the same time, I think I did understand like the plot of this regardless. So this sort of like inner plot, I think, still came through for me, because I think it still has an arc to it. Regardless of them not setting up the larger arc, there is still like a mini arc, like Ethan sort of is alluding to. And I think that came through fine. It took, it just like had weird pauses in the story in the middle. And that's going back to my, like, I think it's just too long. Like, I think thinking about it, like after the movie, directly after, I probably understood it the best. And, well, what am I trying to say, I guess? I feel like I had to digest it a little bit. Like a couple hours later, I was like, oh, okay, I think I understand it a little bit better now, maybe. But it was, again, it was fine. I didn't understand any of the, like, oh, why is this guy so depressed? No clue. Who is this child talking to him?
He's just sad.
Also,
The
no
boy in
clue.
the striped pajamas.
Yes.
Yeah,
the boy
I
in the
kept
straight.
thinking that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
What if
I,
maybe
by the
pick a
way,
different-
didn't know that twist because I didn't play that far in the game, and didn't realize, oh, this kid is actually bad, like whether he knows it or not, you know.
Yeah.
'Cause he's the guy in the scarf. Did you catch that? Or realize he realizes that?
I don't think I realized that.
No.
But yeah, the kid,
Okay.
the guy in the scarf is like the that boy in the straight. Because like the first movie and then the game, like, so like the main character, he's very apathetic. Like they tell you early on in the beginning of the game in the first movie that like when he was young, his parents died in a car crash, and so like he just distances himself. That's why he doesn't really talk much. Also, this is the type of RPG where the main character doesn't say anything, and you just have text box
Gotcha.
responses of like yes or no or options, like. Because it's that like we want our cake and eat it too, of like we want you to make this like your avatar, your surrogate, but also this is a character at the same time where it's like
Right.
I never fully get into that either or for me. Fine, I'm okay if it being this is the guy and you can make the choices for him, you know what I mean, or like whatever. But and yeah, that boy in the striped pajamas comes to him in dreams or visions or whatever, and like that kind of gets the ball rolling for him of like, okay, maybe I should need to talk to people, because like it seems he seems like a good, like, you know, he's a little like hard to understand, and like what is this? It's a little confusing intentionally, but it seems like, yes, he's almost like a guide helping him reach out a little bit, and then realizing later that, like, oh, I guess in this movie that, like, oh, the things you're saying, like, he's repeating the kind of nihilistic viewpoint of the main character of, like, I shouldn't attach myself to anyone, not in a way to make the character question why, but just to reaffirm, actually, no. You know what I mean? You shouldn't get attached. You shouldn't. And then having that character realize maybe that isn't actually right. You know what I mean? Which comes in later in that I liked. And then, you know, having the guy in the scarf, which I saw a picture of him once in, like, on the internet. So I figured he was a minor character. Didn't realize he was semi-major, if not maybe perhaps the actual, like, final villain, whether he realized it himself or not. And then, you know, it was like a beat right before the main character realizes, oh, you're the kid in my dreams. Then I actually realized it as well. I'm like, wait a second, I think that's the same voice. It's hard to tell because I don't understand the language. You know what I mean? Because some of the cadences get lost that way. But I'm like, oh, I think that's the same guy. So I liked that twist. That worked on me. I don't remember a girl who slits her wrists that much from the past movie, but she was in it.
Her.
And Iori, he's the guy in the baseball cap.
I think it's the first person they save, I think, in the first movie.
I don't think so. Because I would have done that in the game, and I don't remember that. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
I don't remember.
I liked the two of them.
Saved at some point. That's all
I liked the two of them, Iori and the hat there.
I was cheering for him.
Yeah,
I was cheering for him.
You know,
I want them to be a ship. You know.
By the way, he's the type of
he was trying hard.
A stereotype character that they've done in Persona 4 and 5 afterwards, and they never hit as hard as him, or actually like this guy. Yeah, like I liked what he was going through. I liked that whole dynamic there. I liked, we didn't talk at all about Aigis, the robot girl with the blonde hair. I like her a lot. I think she's a great character. Again, established in that second movie, and then kind of assumed you know who she is in this one, but she was a robot made by the kind of organization that kind of is running this thing. Yeah, Seas. Yeah, she was made by them to help fight the shadows, but a lot of her memories are gone, and then, you know, like, she gains emotions over the course of the game. I know that as well as this movie, and you know, she's got the logical thing of, like, I gotta protect this guy, but also she likes him. That comes to, you know, start to form in as well, and I like all that stuff as well. I thought it was funny that she keeps interrupting. You know, they're supposed to be separated boys and girls on this, you know, trip, you know what I mean? And she keeps, like, getting in the way because, like, she sees this guy he wants to be friends with, you know, our main character. She's like, you're dangerous, and I will probably kill you. She doesn't say that, but, like, that's the implication of, like, you know, she would probably do that. I thought that was funny how they went about all that stuff.
That did remind me, I take it back, there was some fall leaves in Kyoto specifically. Now I'm remembering where, because they do, like, a montage of them, like, what do they do during their field trip during the day? And that's the only time I remember now there being, like, actual fall colors.
They do also notice a leaf when that one guy loses his towel, and then they say, oh, well, you can cover up with this leaf, and it's like a little tiny leaf.
But that was a green leaf. Maybe you probably plucked it from the thing. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and then also, again, like, if I could be wrong here, if I understand correctly, a Japanese school year begins in spring, in, like, May. And then, like, they get like August. Right. They get August off of school. They just get 1 month.
They get like a week. I thought it was like a week.
It's a month. It's a month. They don't get, like, not nearly as much as us. They also go to school on Saturdays as well, which is
that's
wild.
Probably what I'm thinking of. Well, they're getting ready for their work-life balance that they're going to have.
But at the same time, I'm pretty sure their high school is also only 3 years. I think it's just 1, 2, and 3.
It's like accelerated.
Well, maybe middle school is a year longer to compensate. Because I don't think that they're, like, 17 when they graduate high school. I think they're the same age.
That sounds right, but I don't.
I think I've never I
didn't go to school there.
I've never had a fourth year be a reference in any anime high school thing before, so I'm just assuming 3 years off of that.
Fourth years are for the dumb students.
Yes.
It's like the fifth year here.
Oh, you're a fourth year. Oh,
yeah, the 13th grade, as we like to call it. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I like in this movie. That it's almost like I have to remember and really pick them out to be like, I liked this, I like this, I like this. But a lot of that is because I like a lot of these characters from the previous two movies, and also what I played from the video game itself up until that point where I'm like, cool. I like, maybe it's just because I like, this one character because this voice actor voices him, and therefore I like, I then have that attachment a little bit more. I know David's a Critical Role guy, or at least he used to be. A lot of those characters are Persona kids. A lot of those, a lot of those actors.
He's
are
really
Persona
trying
kids.
to get me to increase my score
No,
here.
it's fine. So overall, again, I could be dragged up and down, left or right in the aisles here. I'm a moderate, as we like to say.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I work across the aisle here and there.
So yeah, I don't know. Do we got anything else we want to say before we kind of talk about potentially where we would place this?
Not really.
Okay.
I think I'm good, honestly. Yeah.
All right.
I think Ethan, you got to start, right? It's your movie.
That's right. Well, before
first,
we do that, we gotta, we gotta
right,
explain what we do here. And folks might have
let me lock
seen
in.
we have a nice refresh, a nice coat of paint on this whole thing going on here.
Wow.
Yes, so like and subscribe, and all that jazz. And so if you're listening on podcast services, check out our YouTube because we have a visual aid here that might be useful for you. So as folks can see, we've done a lot of movies so far. We're on our final 3 movies, our last pick each in the draft. This was my last pick, and we got 2 more movies after that, which is David's and Devin's final picks as well. We give them a score, a letter grade, based off of our kind of general thoughts on the thing collectively together. Sometimes we're pretty unanimous, sometimes we fight a lot, but in the end we come to a single conclusion, and it's for the betterment of all mankind. So, as we like to say, you're welcome out there. But how do we get to these letter grades? Well, Devin.
Yes.
And I showed this to Devin earlier, David, earlier being like a month ago. But we also revamped the following thing you're about to see, which is a full minute slower. So it should be easier to do without fumbling.
rushing.
Great.
there
Devin.
was a couple of times. I did knock it out of the park, but then there were some
yeah.
other bad ones. There was some bad. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's some bad ones in there too, but there was some very superior ones. Maybe S rank levels of
True
execution. I will say. In past episodes, you can find them.
Graded on a curve, absolutely. So, Devin, in 3 minutes or less, why don't you explain what these tiers are and how we arrive to them? Begin.
So yes, here on the Sonic Movie Show, we rank video game movies on a video game movie curve. So not a regular movie curve, but it's on a video game movie curve. So maybe a movie on one of these rankings, you'd be like, what? They gave that an A? That's like a D movie. That's fine. These are on a video game movie curve. But let's start at the top with S tier, S rank. We have Detective Pikachu, Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And we do have some newer ones this season that were added to that list, like Gran Turismo and Tetris. I almost said Tekken. Tetris. And these are movies that are superior, like just highly recommend video game movies. Really nothing wrong with them at all. Maybe there's like very minute things that we'll point to, but for the most part, just really enjoyable movies. Then we get to A tier. And A tier are films that maybe just don't have that secret sauce to get to S, but still we'd probably recommend these as well. Really fun movies like Uncharted, the Tomb Raider remake there in 2016, I believe that was.
18.
18. Then we had Mortal Kombat 2021 in there. And then Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one, is on there as well. Just really fun movies on there. We do still recommend those. And then we get to B, which is movies that have probably more good than bad in them. Whatever that ratio is for you, kind of maybe changes sometimes for us, but for the most part, more good than bad. For me, I kind of go to a 60-40 starting range. And, these movies are pretty good. Maybe not use the word great, but they're good. We have Ni no Kuni on there, the first Resident Evil. We also have Dragon Quest Your Story on there. I remember that one. And then we get to our range where a lot of our movies fall in, maybe because our spectrum here is almost like a bell curve. We didn't plan it out that way, but it's kind of maybe fallen into that where, it's just fine. Maybe it's 50-50 good, bad, just fine. maybe boring at parts, but for the most part, it's fine. I watched it. I didn't hate my time. It was fine. A lot of movies fall in here, like I said. So we have like pretty much all the live action Resident Evil movies in here, except for the first one. I think one of them may be in D. We have Street Fighter 2, the anime movies on here. We have Oni-Chanbara, I mentioned earlier. This episode's on there. Yeah, just fine. A lot of movies fall here. I think that's okay. Maybe on a video game, on a regular movie curve, this is where you'd probably argue a lot of these were bad. But for the sake of video game movies, they're fine. They're fine. Then we get to D, which is more bad than good. Kind of the polar opposite of B, where there's more, maybe it's 60-40 bad to good ratio. We have movies like Assassin's Creed, Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I'd argue that movie might be even E. Ratchet and Clank, Warcraft. These movies might be just overall boring. Maybe they could be visually good looking like Warcraft, but we don't know what happened in it, and it just was like, 2 hours, man. Like, come on, dude. Just bad. More bad than good. Because E tier is where we just put these movies are bad. There's probably very little to none redeemable factors in this movie. Some still find them entertaining on this call, but they're bad movies.
Sometimes things gets placed here that shouldn't be, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Not yet so far.
But we have movies like Blood Rain, where it also could be a poorly made movie, where maybe the concept is good, but like just poorly executed. Blood Rain's a good example where it's just awful set pieces, awful acting, awful story. But then the theme maybe would have been interesting, but too bad. Then we get to our last tier, which is F tier. We only have one movie here, Postal. And this tier, we hope to never put a movie back in again, because we're saving this for like if the movie is downright horrendous and offensive, more specifically. If the movie shouldn't have been made, like that's the level of like why was this made, and it was made in a way that is offensive, racist even at moments, or maybe quite frequently in the example of Postal. But yeah, F tier, just don't even watch these movies. Don't pirate these movies. Don't do anything. Don't engage.
I agree. Thank you, Devin. I have to, I think, redo this video thing for all of the things sliding up here, because I'm noticing as you're doing this, the frame rate in OBS was dipping down into the 40s and 50s, the whole thing. I think it's a big file size on that video, because I was like, who cares?
It's weird that it time traveled.
Yeah, I know. Didn't drop any frames, but the frame rate was going down. But it was still very legible to do that. So Devin listed off a bunch of tiers, and these are the points associated with those tiers.
For our fantasy football.
Yep. No, not fantasy football. Very, very simple. It's just 6 points down straight to 0 all the way through. There is a counterpoints column there that you can see that's -2 down to negative, or down to straight 4, shoot 4, as they like to say. But we don't have any counter picks on this movie. But our final 2 movies do have counter picks on them, so you will be seeing this come back around. So yes, if this movie were to get a tier of a rank of S, it would get me 6 points. If it was an F, it would get me 0 points, and throughout the scale like that. So here's our current standings so far. David is in last place with 18.26 points. We'll explain the decimal at the end here. I'm in second place with just 19.11 points. So I'm less than a point higher than David right now. We are still neck and neck. And Devin is in first place with a whopping 24.50 points. So we need to each go around the horn, as they say, around the table here, and give our pitch of what letter tier we would personally put it in, and we'll come together the results. I will start first since this was my movie pick. I said right off the bat, it's a C, and you guys didn't really convince me either way to go up or down too far. I'm like literally middle C here. Again, there's a lot of stuff I really like. The structure of it was just lacking, and I really feel like let me put it this way, if this movie had that 5-minute recap that you guys mentioned, I would probably put this at a B. Literally, if the movie just gave the context at the beginning of what was going on prior, I know they wanted to have that dramatic opening of him, he's falling backwards and the gun flies out of his hand.
Previously. Persona.
But then we land there and it's like, oh, how did we get here? Previously on. Just do that.
and then
Literally,
just a montage of them yelling and shit. Just,
I feel like that would have solved so much that I might have given this just a B, just personally. But I'm going to sit at a C here. That is my pitch. David, what do you want to give it? I know you love every movie. You're always begging S tier for every single movie.
I'm always a big fan of anime. I'm notorious on this channel for ranking animes very high. I think. No, I'm not the biggest fan of anime, so I think a lot of these are hard for me to watch overall. But I try not to hold that against them too much. Or maybe I'm learning to not hold that against them too much.
I was gonna say
This whole
I'm
whole
learning,
video
okay?
series is a learning process. All right, I'll roll with this.
I think. I mean, I said at the beginning, similar to Ethan, I was a C, a low C. It's hard. My initial gut was a D, a high D. I kind of understand the points you guys have been making, although I also agree with Devin's points of like the shooting yourself was man. I mean, this was my first time watching that, and even at the end, I was like, God, there's just something wrong about this.
it's a little weird. Yeah, that's best.
So, yeah, I guess I'm going to say a high D for now, with the caveat I think Devin could convince me to go to a C. I disagree with you, Ethan, that a recap would save this. I think there was just problems with it, like timing of just like action or story points. Like they had the little comedy bath scene in the middle, but I feel like you could have just skipped that. It didn't add anything to the story for me, other than like have some jokes, and like the school scenes, and like we just watched him do a job for a little bit. Like, why? So I think this should have been cut down to at least an hour, made the pacing a little bit quicker, and then I could see like a solid high C or a low B. I could get on board with that after a couple of those things were taken care of, but not just after a recap, I don't think.
Okay, Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave made a good point of like I think it could have been an hour, maybe even 45 minutes. But at the same time, like I did critique it for being cathartic, especially with its tone, which is fine. I don't mind it being cathartic, I guess. I think it just needed to either stick with it or not break it up so what felt very unevenly with, an onsen or just... There was some jokes here and there, which I thought were fine, but like to have a whole 15-minute bit, at least I don't know if it was 15 minutes, but it felt like 15-minute bit, it just felt out of place, and like I guess they're trying to show the camaraderie of them, but it reminded me of just like the beach scene in the second movie where it just went on a little bit too long and like it wasn't really for me personally. I don't know. I whatever on that stuff, but yeah, I also agree though. I don't think a recap would have made this movie. I mean, it would have helped, I think, just with remembering things of what was happening. But I don't think a recap would have saved this movie for me. I just think the two tones are kind of all over the place. I mean, I know the new guy coming in was kind of like toxic positivity, and I guess you can kind of argue, I think to a certain extent, that maybe the tones are blending together, but it's still like that contrast was, and I don't mind contrast in art. Like I think I love contrast in like music and stuff like that, but in this particular example, for whatever reason, it just didn't work for me. Like, it just didn't work for me. And that's been my issue with most of these movies. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue for a C. Personally, I think this movie was a pretty standard D for me. It just ain't for me, man. And like, I'm trying to appreciate it from the normal reasons I appreciate movies. And like I said, the action, the art direction, visuals were all good. And the story did surprise me for a moment at the end there. But we should have got there maybe quicker, or it needed to be condensed in some way. I think it's a little bit all over the place, and I feel like they're trying to cram too much in. But also at the same time, it feels like they were waiting, like you mentioned, Ethan, earlier, of like waiting for this fourth movie to finish it off. Where I feel like we could have got somewhere. Like, yes, we got the relationship of what's his name and the girl in the hospital, and like we get that. I think that was cool. Maybe that should have been the main focus instead of whatever the main guy's name was, just being depressed for half the episode or half the. Keep saying episode because I agree with you all. I think this should have been a TV show episode that was 25 minutes or split into 2 episodes, and I think it would have been much better pacing and whatnot. This that's what's tough with anime movies. I think anime movies in general are really tough to do because, especially if they come from. Granted, this came from a video game, but just anime in general. Anime movies are always tough, I think, because if you're used to a pacing that's 25, 30 minutes. It's just kind of like, okay, where is this going? How long is this arc? Or we can do an arc over 5 episodes and it feels more rewarding than maybe too quick or too slow in a movie format. But yeah, man, I at moments I felt like it could have been a C. So I'll say this: I'll just lock it in at a low or a high D for me, just for the. I guess I can hear where you're coming from, Ethan and David, but. Coming into this conversation, I was kind of like, man, I just don't care. Like, I'm trying to care. I just like these characters just I don't know, just like I think it's just that like the catharticism of this movie just kind of really grinded me down just in general more than I thought it would, but it just for every reason I was just like not vibing with it, and I think it's hard to beat vibes sometimes the vibes just be off.
The most millennial ass word, vibe. Okay,
did the vibe check? It didn't pass.
I guess I've not been the odd man out in a couple movies.
I know it's me this time. Crazy, you both said B. You said right. You said B. I'm like I said, I could be dragged up to a B. So,
Z actually.
Z. Oh wow, Z.
Negative 15
super
points.
Z is the
negative
cool
26.
version.
Super bad.
Yeah. All right. So I guess then that nets out to be D tier, which nets me 2 points. However, before I flash it up on the screen there, we got a decimal point system. Isn't that right, David?
We do, yeah.
Care to explain?
What? Okay. Yeah, the decimal point system is so we don't tie. Because as you can see, Ethan and I are pretty close right now. Could very well end up in a tie, depending on how Professor Layton is. So what we do is we look at the IMDb score. The Rotten Tomatoes score. We take a glance at the IMDb and then we skip right over to Rotten Tomatoes and we look at the audience meter. We look at the audience meter.
Correct.
Yes.
That's right. Popcorn meter to be more specific.
The popcorn meter. And
which is
sometimes
a new
we'll read
thing.
a couple reviews.
Yeah, so yeah, David summed it up pretty well. Whatever the popcorn meter is, percentage, if it's like 15% or 25, whatever number you want to get, you just put the decimal over twice, and then that's the decimal we get for it. So it's also a fun way to look at to see what are other people's thoughts on a movie, because sometimes we've been in a disagreement or sometimes it's been validating. Well, for some of us.
Yes, for some of us.
We look at it and we also look at some reviews, what other people said, just to see what people are thinking. But yeah, Persona 3, the movie.
Does this
3.
have a page?
It does, but it might
Because
not
the
have a
second one
score.
did.
Oh.
And I'm going to say that trend is continuing, because all I have right now is there's no tomato meter or popcorn meter currently.
Wow.
But let me look on Google real quick. Let me double check, because I'm using a different
This would be the
search engine.
third
So let me-
or maybe fourth time this has happened to me. And it's only ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
the
you
movie
did
doesn't
do a
have
Hail
page.
Mary pick system.
I did, yeah.
So
Well, just like this, and last
is the
season as
downside.
well. This happened to me where there wasn't a Rotten Tomato
okay.
percentage for the movie.
All
Yeah,
right.
because the
I
first
was
Persona 3
double-checking.
movie did have one, but the second one didn't. And I remember we did find that there was a page for the third one, but I don't remember if it had a score.
It doesn't. It has a page. I'll say that. So that makes it. It'd be different if it didn't have a page, because sometimes people like write them incorrectly, or the website does. And I was just double checking to make sure there's nothing that I'm missing. So I'm just double check. I wrote in the word persona just to see. like yeah, Midsummer Night Dreams on here. It does have a 60%. But I don't even see the first one. Yeah, it doesn't even have a page. The first movie.
I remember that being the other way around. Is this like changing?
I don't know. But I tried to Google it too, just to make sure. And I also searched on their website itself. Yeah.
Dang.
Sorry, man. Yeah,
hey, I'm
sorry.
used to it. This is how it works. This
Wasn't entertaining enough to not even leave a review. That's crazy. Or maybe it was.
Ooh.
People just loved it so much, they didn't.
They loved it. They had to go tell everyone about it. They didn't have time to go to their
In
computer.
person, yeah.
Yeah.
Get on
All
a flight.
right. So then that means that brings my total score to drumroll, please.
Your final score.
Yes, my final score. Wow. Why didn't that go through?
Still 19.11.
That's
You got 0.
because shoot, I replaced the wrong thing there. Let's see. Vamp, start talking. Talk.
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 Like have a
Yeah,
conversation.
I think
2211, right?
Yes, that's what I'm. But I want to have the image pop up. This is what I'm doing. I'm not. Let's see.
I think
He's just
with
crunching
this
the numbers.
being a D and Ethan having no further counter picks, I think I'm in a pretty solid position to get second place, depending on how we rank late.
How the other one ranks.
There we
the
go.
Issue, it's going to be a. There you go. You have 21.11 there. I mean, Ethan was very consistent. I think you got to give him tip the hat to at least that. He was in the D to C range
C's,
outside of
A.
Necroatsime
I
House.
picked movies I wanted to watch, and they were all Hail Mary throws, and this is, honest to God, about as best as I could have expected. Like, I could have dreamed for S's and A's the whole way through, but this is about kind of how I expected my lot to go. And I won
think it
the
could have
last
gone
one, and I
worse,
wanted to
so I
have a
think
little bit more fun this time, and throw my weight around here. Actually, don't remember what my score was last season, but
We'd have to look.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think we had more of a mixed bag on both sides, so it might have been around this score. Because I feel like with yours, yours is. If you took away Necroatsime House, you just got that average, and I feel like last season that's what we had. I think because none of us had S's. I think we had maybe one. I think you had one A, maybe.
And it was Tomb Raider, the first movie we watched for the season.
and then it was after that. I think it was mostly C's, and then maybe some D's in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the score is going to be interesting because of those two counter picks. There's a chance that I theoretically could lose points
It's
and
possible.
David can win.
It's possible.
Based
Depends
off
on what
the
these next
counter
two
picks.
movies
real
are.
bad.
Right.
Yeah, could
I
happen.
think there's a chance
I'm
I
not
could finish
holding out hope.
last. Theoretically, based off, it would have to be. I guess.
I guess that's what I'm hoping for. All I need to do is beat Devin.
I don't think you
all I
can lose 3 points.
I'm just hoping David loses. That's all I cheer for every time.
Yeah, I know that.
I'll lose to
All right,
someone
well.
is what I'm betting.
All right. Well, thank you all for sticking around and watching this review of Persona 3, the movie number 3. Falling down. Remember, like and subscribe and all that. But we're not done yet because
wait,
it's
there's
time
more.
for everybody's favorite game show, Getting
mine.
Down with PSP. So I first played this game on its PSP version, not this PlayStation 2
jeez.
original. And so what we're going to be doing is a little bit of a fun game of guessing Metacritic scores for various PSP games. I wanted to use OpenCritic, which is what we do a fantasy critic league, where we do it based on video game scores. But OpenCritic was established 2015. They don't have any PSP games. They didn't go backwards. They said we're only moving forwards. So I went to Metacritic, and I tallied up. I found 17 PSP video games, and I have their Metacritic average scores. It's going to be very simple. You guys are going to be Price is Right, guessing what you think the score is. But we have a very fun little twist on this whole thing. I have already arranged these games from highest score to lowest we're going to be starting at the highest possible score out of all 17, and we're moving down as we go. So not a single game will have a higher score than the previous ones we've already done here.
So to do it Ethan coded, there's just going to be down by 1 each time, and he's going to...
Yeah, that's Ethan.
We'll see.
How many are there?
17 total video games.
17.
17.
Damn.
I went
and each
through
one is worth a
all
point.
of them. They are each worth 1 point.
So
That's
I can
right.
come back.
That's right. As you can see, above Devin and David is the score, and above that is the trophies. David has 3 trophies, and Devin has 5 times that number.
I think that's a typo. I think it's supposed to say 5.
No, there was a 5. There was a 5. He had that, and then he got the 10, and now he's on the 15.
That's all. I can just try to gaslight the commissioners of this game until I win.
Well, the
Doesn't
jury
matter.
is out back, and they're watching.
It doesn't
right
matter.
now.
Underdogs always prevail. So
Yeah. I'd like to
I'm
see an
washed
underdog
up.
one of these days. All right, so, and again, remember, we're starting with highest and then going to lowest here.
we're both guessing, right? So there's no like
And what are
first.
So you're just going to guess
scores
it's
out of? Is it out of
0
100?
to 100? Yep, 0 to 100. And we'll go back and forth. We can snake it if you guys would like. But if you go over the thing, you don't get it. So closest without getting over. All right. So
Got it.
And our first game.
Highest.
Yep. Our first game on the list is Persona 3 Portable.
Wow, this is the highest.
Who goes first?
On this list
Is
of
there an
17. We'll start with David. You go first.
Okay. This is a tough one. I have nothing to judge it off of. Going first is going to be tough. I'm hoping that these reviews are from back in the day, so maybe that'll make it a little bit
They
higher.
are obviously concurrent with when they came out.
So I have no way to know what PSP did in terms of reviews. I don't know. I really don't know if they were PSP was these games were loved or not. So I'm gonna start high. I'm hoping I'm not starting too high. I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna go 75.
Okay, David says 75 for Persona 3 Portable. Devin, what do you think the Metacritic score for Persona 3 Portable is?
76.
Devin, playing the game, is saying
to win, baby.
76. The
Going
person
first sucks, actually.
the person who got that one right. Drum roll, please, as I have to double check and make sure.
Unless it's exactly 75.
I know, which is... I'll tip the hat then in that case. I mean, this one's just a learning one, so that's really how I'm treating this first question.
First one to get a point is Devin. The Metacritic score for Persona 3 Portable is 89.
Oh, wow.
It is the third highest rated game on Metacritic for PSP. But not every game is on there. There's only 500 games on there, and I know there's a lot more than 500 games on that platform. Okay, so question 2. Actually, I need to swap that over. Devin, you will answer this one first, and then David will go. Our next game is Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Devin, what do you think the Metacritic score was?
82.
Okay, Devin says 82. David, what do you think?
Go up, do it.
I was thinking it was going to be 85, so I'm going to say 83.
Okay, David says
do it.
83.
Do it.
You love to see this. I hope this doesn't be the whole thing for the whole thing.
It
The
will.
whole thing for the whole thing, or you guys are just going to do one above each other the whole time.
Well, we got to get close as we can, and then see who has the...
That's
you have to get to a point where it gets scary. We're like, do I go one above?
Yeah.
What if it is the number? Get above it.
One of you is closer than the other, believe it or not, and neither of you went over. David gets the point. This one also has an 89.
Oh, okay. Hey, I thought you said they were
Go
lower.
down. That's
They don't
Lies.
go higher. This is
Roll the
lower
clip
on the
back.
list.
Roll the
of-
clip
this is
back.
Lower on the
means
list of
actually
Metacritic's.
decreasing.
This is lower on the list
It would
of
be
their ranking.
it goes lower or stays the same is what you should have said.
Well, that's what a loser would want to fight with. So.
I don't know. I just don't think you know how to use the English language to explain the game rules. God damn. I'm trying to win.
David,
I only won 89.
Devin, you haven't won a single one of these. I just gave you these trophies out of spite.
No,
for David.
Disagree.
David.
I wish that was the case.
The next game is Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, which is kind of an arcade port of Tekken 5 for the PSP. What do you think the score is?
I feel like this changes it. Then now that I know it can be the same, it's gonna drop slower. I feel like now.
Do it.
Yeah, just say 89 again. 3 of them are 89.
That's pretty Ethan coded, I think. So I think you should do it.
Yeah, Tekken. I mean, Tekken is popular.
Maybe I lied and this one's higher, since apparently Devin doesn't know how to listen.
I'm gonna
David
say,
had the same confusion.
Yeah, I did. I'm gonna say 83.
Okay, David says once more. He says 83. Devin, what do you think?
I'm going to guess the same number.
82.
Oh, there's no rules to say I can't guess 83. Price is right. So we both get points. Right?
Well, if you're going to say Price is Right, now you need to actually look up Price is Right rules, because if that's what I said, no, you can't pick the same number. Sorry.
Frick it, 84. I don't care.
Oof, wow.
Devin says 84, while David had said 83. So far, you guys haven't gone over. I'll say that. Devin gets the point because
damn it.
The Metacritic score for Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection is 88.
I really needed... Oh my god, one down.
That's
I really
right.
needed that one.
That's right.
Pulling ahead from here on out is just
There's
hard.
17. Don't worry. We have a long way to go.
Still.
Let's
yeah,
keep it moving here.
It's going to be 1-7.
Our next game is God of War Ghosts of Sparta. Devin,
Oh, I played this one.
what do you think the Metacritic score
No, never mind. I played Chains of
for
Olympus.
God of War Ghosts of Sparta is?
80.
Devin says a flat 8-0. David, God of War Ghosts of Sparta on the PlayStation
above it.
Portable.
Yeah.
What do you think it
coward.
is?
Do it.
I could see
You
it
may
being
want to.
above it. It's hard because, like, I feel like it is very Ethan coded to have 2 the same and it drop 1 and then drop like 15.
You guys keep trying to play
it's gonna be 60.
and you're not
It's
playing
gonna
that
be like-
game. I just
That's
wanna know
how
what
we
you- what you
win is
think.
playing you, not the game.
Oh, really? You
We
speak from
don't-
experience?
We don't know these scores.
Actually, this episode, me and David are teaming up, and we're just trying to
Yeah.
beat Ethan today.
I'm gonna say 81. I think it's gonna be a slow drop here.
Okay. All right. So Devin, you said 80, is that right? And
Correct.
David is the one that's saying 81. You guys literally are doing the same thing over and over again. I'm just picking one number
Well,
higher
it's gonna
than
hit.
each
It's
other.
gonna hit really well when one of us gets the exact, and then someone went
Yeah.
over. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a
True.
great feeling.
True. That didn't happen today, though. David gets the point because
Yes.
the score for God of
Alright,
War
thank
Ghosts of
God.
Sparta
Oh, wow.
is 86. Metacritic score.
Oh no, I
is
thought you say you
86.
got it on the dime. I was like, dang.
No. I literally said
That's fine.
It hasn't
We're
happened
just
yet.
trading. We're just trading. If the math is correct, I think I get the last one. So I would have been my one. I think. We keep this.
Oh
right
boy.
going.
Okay.
Our
I'm
next
getting
game
nervous.
for the PlayStation Portable is called Ratchet and Clank Size Matters. David, what do you think that the score is for Ratchet and Clank Size Matters on Metacritic?
What was the last score again?
86.
86. I know people liked Ratchet and Clank a lot back in the day. I could see it being 85.
Back in the day.
Wow, it's been a slow drop.
87. Yeah.
So the last one was... Sorry, the last one was
Sorry,
86.
we've gone 89, 89, 88, 86, and now this game.
Which is
I'm going to say...
Ratchet and Clank Size Matters.
dang it.
Yeah, you're never gonna get me. I'm too good for you.
I'm going to say 84.
David says 84. Devin, what do you think it is?
80. I'm gonna break the mold. a little bit.
Okay.
Damn.
Devin saying
you went over.
82 games in a row. You like to see that because the number one thing I feared was you guys just doing one above each other the entire
It's called
time.
strategy.
It would have, yeah, it was a strategy you should have done because the answer is 85. So David gets it.
Wow.
I didn't think it'd be that high for some
Yeah,
reason.
yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah.
David with the 84 guess, 1 point
Huge.
below the actual answer of 85.
Huge.
You love to see it. Okay. The next
Playing for the
game
drop.
on our list is MLB The Show 06.
Okay.
Oh boy.
For
This
the
is
PlayStation
where-
Portable.
The sports games are bad, from what I know on PSP for the most part.
Thank
But
you
I'm
for
gonna
that clue.
stick. I'm gonna go 79.
Okay. Devin. Oh, he didn't say
It's
80,
tough.
though. He says 79.
go
80,
down
80,
one, just in case,
79.
just in case,
All right,
just in
all right,
case.
all right. Yeah, you're taking your actual things and going down one by one. Okay.
80.
And David says 80. We're going right back to the...
I need all the trophies I can get
Hey, I
for
listen,
my own pride.
listen, I'm with you here because you know I'm rooting for you. I'm going to root for whoever's in last place. And I've been rooting for you for a long time.
Months.
The majority of this
Remind me.
season. So I would like for you to win. I cannot influence that. I can give you good news and say you got another point because
Nice.
MLB The
That might be
Show
it.
06 is an 83 on Metacritic.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of these MLB games were in the 80s. This being the highest of them, and then high 70s after that.
That's a
So-
clue for later. Remember
No,
that.
there are no.
Yeah, because
there
all
are
the
no,
next ones are MLB.
MLB.
Every
Oh
single
wait,
one.
MLB 07, MLB 05.
The rest of this.
Okay. Our next game for the PlayStation Portable is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. David, what do you think the score for Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII is on Metacritic?
Wow.
I need a number.
I think Final Fantasy VII is a pretty popular one. I thought that was one that was like remade recently. But wasn't
Twice,
good on
in fact.
PSP.
In a way.
I shake my head because he
How
has
many points
played
do
the
I think
remake
it
on his
dropped?
computer.
So I'm right. I think it dropped. I think we're dropping 2. So last one was 83.
Well, there was doubles though at one point.
There was. I'm gonna pull a Devin and say 80.
Okay. Devin, you can't match him. Well, what you gonna do?
When they come for you.
David
I
throws.
think it's lower. I think he went
Okay.
over, so I'm gonna go 75
Okay, Devin says 75.
just to get the points. Hopefully,
Just to get the points,
I mean, you
hopefully.
could just say like 1 if you think I went over, and then it's
well,
guaranteed.
I'm trying to play the. I'm trying to play the game.
Yeah, you're not trying to make the commissioner mad, which he will if we start saying 1 over or 1.
listen, I'll start giving myself trophies. I got room.
Yeah.
I got room. The Metacritic score for Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII is 83. So David gets another
that might be
point.
GG. That might be
Ooh,
GG.
This is good. This is
We
good. Just gotta
have not
maintain
even
now.
crossed the halfway point yet. I think
Yeah,
we're
but the
about
way
to.
it's going, if we just keep doing this strat, it's now like I'm trying to break the strat because it's
You're breaking them
inevitable.
in the wrong ways. But you have another shot now because you're going first with this next game for the PlayStation Portable, Outrun 2006, Coast to Coast. What do you think it is, Devin?
Is that a car game?
It sure is. It's a driving game.
Outrun. I don't know how they. I feel like I'm like grading this way too low, so I don't know. 77.
Okay, Devin says 77 for Outrun 2006, Coast to Coast. David, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a hard one because it's like not a name brand thing, so it definitely could have. It could be a big.
It is from way back in the day. I'll say that.
Clues.
Blues Clues.
Blues Clues. What did you say? 75.
He said
77.
77.
77.
You could say 75 if you want, though.
You can, yeah.
No, I
Go 78 then.
Or 76.
70.
Or say
78.
Or
78.
just say 1.
What'd you say?
One higher. 78.
Okay. David says 78 for Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. 1 point on there higher than Devin's, which he had 77 on there. I'm stalling because I realized in my little column here in Excel, I have you guys swapped. I just got to rename you guys, and then you're good. Once again, David getting a point.
Yes.
The Metacritic score for Outrun
It's
2006
just gonna
Coast
dip
to
at
Coast
like the last one to 20
is
or something
82.
stupid.
This one was an 82.
What was the last one then?
83.
Oh my
There was
God.
two
That was an
83s.
83. Yes. All right.
The slowest drip of all time.
Yeah.
Okay. David is going
Feeling
once
good.
again first. This next game, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this because this is a port from the iPhone, Angry Birds.
Oh God.
What do
Actually,
you
I'm
think?
glad I'm not going first.
Angry
Jesus.
I have no idea.
And the last one, remind me what the last one is. I have short-term memory loss.
82.
82. Freaking Angry Birds. God, I cannot imagine Angry Birds is 80 plus. But people really loved that game.
They made a movie
Man.
off of it.
They made
Crazy.
2, and they're making a third. Some might say too late.
Angry Birds. I could see it being okay on the PSP. You had the little joystick thing. I'm gonna say 78.
David says 78. Devin.
I'm too behind. I gotta play the strat. 79.
Devin says 79. Okay, playing the strat.
I'm
No one
hoping
wants
this is the big-
to break from tradition.
I literally
No.
have for 5 in a row.
No one has yet to break tradition. You guys have only been doing
That's
one
not
higher.
true. Roll the clip.
I'm joking, obviously. Well, this is the first time both of you went over.
Damn.
In fact, the first time either of you went over, but both of you went over. Metacritic is 77. So literally,
Oh, yeah,
you
I
guys
knew
were
it was
right
close.
there.
Yep.
David with the 78
Damn.
and Devin with the 77. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
So we are now in the 70s. That one being 77. Our next game, Persona 2: Innocent Sin, which is a remake kind of for PSP. It was initially a PSP or PS1 game. Sorry. So this is a PSP remake. Devin, you are first. That's right.
75.
Okay. Devin says 75. David, what do you
I
think?
gotta. I'm
God,
sorry.
that's
I
tough.
gotta go.
That's
I'm trying to go
tough.
for on the dot now. 'cause
I know. Yeah, that's what you gotta do.
I'm down. I have to go
Wow.
closer to the edge, the razor's edge now.
I could see it being 76 or 77 again. So I'm going to say, you said 75, I'm going to say 76.
Okay, the
hoping
strat
on those,
lives
yeah.
on once more.
Ethan's so angry.
No, I'm
But that's
not
what happens. These type of
Listen, I need
Yeah.
to stall because I have to then in Illustrator. Then I have to go file export. I gotta change the thing, and then I gotta hit export, and I gotta hit replace. Devin gets the point. He got it right on the money. It was
Damn,
75.
yeah.
So David went
Either
over.
way, great job.
Oh wait, I gave you 1 point. Sorry, I meant
What?
to add.
I thought that was a
point.
weird 7. I'm like, did I get more for
No,
getting
no.
it exact?
I meant
was like, that's
to
cool.
add a point, so I just wrote 1 instead of rating 3, which is your new score.
All right, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Okay.
Damn.
Okay. Now.
Still in danger.
That's right. What's up, danger, as they say. David, you are going first now with a PSP launch title, Metal Gear Acid.
Your acid.
It's when he falls in a
Insane
vat
name.
and becomes the Joker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And what was the last one? 77?
75.
75. I'm surprised that Metal Gear is so low.
This was a weird one where it was like a strategy game like based on cards. So like you snuck around. It was the espionage stuff, but like your actions were based off. It was like a deck building game. I played a little bit of this and never finished it.
It was the original Balatro.
in a sense.
I'm gonna say 73.
David says 73.
I mean,
Devin.
I'm gonna have to go over 74.
Okay. Devin says 74. We've yet to break from tradition. Not a single person has ever gone lower. At all. At all.
All right,
Play the
click
clip.
export there, Ethan.
I am. Devin gets the point here.
Damn it.
Yes.
The Metacritic on this is also 75.
I had a feeling that was going to happen.
Also 75. All right. So, David,
It's not good.
your next game, this is a long title. What Did I Do to Deserve This by Lord 2.
What?
I played this game. This game rules.
I think I go first because David went first last, right?
Yes, you go first. Sorry. In my Excel thing, your names are swapped.
And last one was 74.
75.
Wait. No, last one was 74.
Last one was 75.
Oh, 75?
You said
Back to back.
70.
There was two.
That's
there
what
was
I'm thinking.
two.
It was 74.
Yeah.
73.
Okay. Devin says 73.
So it's so hard.
I accidentally wrote 37.
Oh wow.
David, what do you think? See, I like this structure, like having them being like, it's not going to be higher, and and I'm saying
Yeah,
games.
it definitely helps. It gives some sort of way to guess, I suppose. Wow. That's fucking tough.
Wow.
Telling me now for the first time. God, I think you nailed it on this one. I don't think it's just a 1 unit drop, and it's gonna really.
What did
suck
I
if you
do
get this
to
point.
deserve this, my lord? 2.
Yeah.
Never
I'm
heard
gonna
of
just
it.
say, I think he either nailed it or it's under. So I'm just gonna say 20.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No.
It's gonna be
This
19.
This that
That
would
would
be
go
funny. I'll tell you right
These are
now,
all
it's not.
both
It's not 19. It's not 19. But that would be really funny. No, this is a game where you are the evil god to a JRPG villain, and you're like helping design his lair and you're hiding the villain somewhere in the lair and helping prevent the heroes coming in to try to defeat him and kill him, and you're making traps
That's
and stuff.
interesting.
PSP, a very fun game. That series had 2 name changes. It was originally titled Holy Invasion of Privacy Bad Man, B-A-D man. And then they were afraid of DC going after them, so they changed their name to What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord? And then they changed their name to No Heroes Allowed. A very fun franchise.
I've heard of that one, last one.
Yeah, that one actually is on PS5 and PS4 as a PSP remaster. Devin, you got it right on the money. It was 73.
I had a feeling.
It was
Let's
73.
go.
He's catching back up. We have
That's hard if
17
he
total
nails it.
games, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. It is still anybody's game. Is this the comeback? Is the underdog story going through? Our next game is a franchise I think you guys will recognize. Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier.
On PSP.
David, what do you think? Jak and Daxter, The
one
Lost
was
Frontier.
73.
That's
Wow.
correct.
Jak and Daxter, Lost Frontier. I feel like we're starting to get close to an average score of 70 here, so now it's really getting tough. Yeah. Wow. So last was 73. Do I do 71? I could see it being 72, but do I risk it? Or do I have Devin risk it?
That is a good conundrum. If you guys are thinking it's
yeah.
really close, do you just
That's
have
why
someone...
ever since we figured out it's a slow drip, we've been both now
Like 2 under, 1 under.
just do or 1 under just to see
Yeah.
if we're able to.
Oh man. I think it's gonna slow down again. I'm gonna risk it. I need to. I have not been risking it, and I think that's why I'm losing again. I'm going to say 72. I think I'm going to regret
The last
this.
one was
but
73. Last one was 73, right?
Yeah. Devin, what do you think?
1.
1?
Yeah, he
Your
thinks
answer
it's
is
wrong.
wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm discussing this dude.
All right. Not necessarily the strategy
We're in it for the
I
win.
would do, because if David is under, you know what I mean? Oh, not question 144, question 14. Okay. David, you went over by 1. The answer was 71.
No. I was
gonna say
God.
71, but I'm like, let me just play it safe in case it's 70. That's why I just
Yeah,
said 1,
sure,
just to cover my entire base.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be the
71
same.
on the Metacritic. This one, there was a few like PlayStation made PSP games that like sold fine that they then ported to PS2. They ported, like, even though PS3 was out, they like, oh, we can make an easy transition to PS2 here, huge install base. And I never finished that game. I didn't care for it, and maybe that's why I got kind of like a middling score there. Okay. So we have 4 games left. 4 games left. This is question 14.
17?
But this is question 14.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Call of Duty 3.
Oh, no.
Devin.
That's tough.
For
I
the
feel like it could be
PlayStation
garbage or
Portable.
it could be fun. no in between.
Well, you know it can't be a 72 or higher, because our last game was 71. What do you think it is?
70.
Okay, Devin says 70.
Come on.
Oh my God.
Do the dang thing. David.
My
you want-
God.
Call of Duty 3.
The chances of it being 71 are so low. My God. It could be.
Do you want me to tell you the answer?
I think it's dumb for me to say 71, even though
This is I found the
That's
strat within
brutal.
the strat of just
Yeah.
get as close as I can to the razor's
Yeah.
edge, forcing you to think about
yeah,
going
just
one
second
up.
guess it. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna say 2. I think he nailed it. I think it's probably 70.
You're going to say 70? Or what are you going to say?
2.
I said 70.
You're going to
he
say
said
the number 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your answer. All right.
2. Keep saying that like it's
Well, no,
gonna-
because I didn't know if you
gonna be
meant
1 or
72
0.
or something like
No.
that.
Well, it can't be 72.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I do know. I do know what the answer
You
is.
do know.
Because the Metacritic for this game is 64, which gets David the
Oh,
point.
yes.
Because Devin went over.
Damn,
Wow, we did it.
64.
I
that's
was
a big
waiting
jump.
for the dip. It's okay. I was waiting for that dip to happen.
You gotta
at some
buy
point.
when there's a
I knew-
tasty dip, as all those
No,
kids
it's
losing
fine.
their money say.
I accept
All
it.
right.
I thought it was gonna come earlier.
David back in the lead again.
Same.
We have 3 questions left here. This is
Damn.
question 15.
I just need
Oh,
one more to
boy.
lock up the tie.
Yeah.
But get the overtime. Yeah.
Yep.
This one is the longest title on the list. Longer than What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord, 2. This one is titled Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie.
I played this, not on PSP though, but I'm hoping it's the entire game.
David, what do you think?
This one's 64. Man, we could see these start to jump down quickly potentially.
I don't know what the floor is for like
Right,
a
the
bad
floor is
one.
probably
That's what makes
50.
this tough. Like
I'll
know,
tell you
that's
after the whole
50.
game is over what the
Yeah.
floor is. Because I went through each page to like just find specific games. And I did look at the end of the list.
Okay.
So the last game was 64.
I think it's yeah.
What do you think it
it's
is?
a big jump. Do we continue these big jumps down, or do we go back to a more consistent 1 or 2? Hard. I think we're gonna have a little bit of a middle jump here. As we sort of cross 70, I think these are gonna start jumping down more towards the end, as Ethan wants to give us real stinkers. I'm gonna say 60.
Okay, David says 60. Devin, what do you think? Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official
We went
game of
from
the
60
movie.
And we were at 63
60.
before.
64.
We went from 71 to 64. And David is given the answer of 60.
I'm gonna go lower. I'm just gonna say 1.
Okay. Devin says 1.
I could see it being lower.
Will this tie or will this give David the lead he knows he needs in order to get his 4th trophy? We'll find out after I go through all of these menus and hit export. The answer is 56. Devin getting the point and tying back up.
56.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work to go first. That's why I'm like, thank God for now it's dipping. I'm not going first for that one. I needed to tie it. You need to take advantage of when you're second, for sure.
Okay.
I think that's
Yep.
the strategy for this type of game.
All right. Our penultimate game here. Dead or Alive Paradise. Devin, what do you
What was
think?
the last one? 56.
That's right.
49.
Okay, Devin says 49.
Wow.
David, what do you think?
I don't think it's going to jump down that much. I'm going to say 50.
Okay, David says 50.
Man, jump down like
over.
10.
Yeah, we might be over. I don't know. That's what my fear is.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go too low.
then
That
we
it was
can't
easy
tie.
for you to just go one up. So
When it's this neck in the game, you can't take too risky risks. You got to try to play it safe. The Metacritic score for Dead or Alive Paradise, which is a spin-off of the spin-off because they made the beach volleyball game, which is a spin-off of the actual fighting games. This was just kind of like
I've played it.
mini games on the PSP while the girls are in their bikinis. It's not even beach volleyball. Dead or Alive Paradise, Metacritic score, 38.
Bro.
You both went over.
Oh,
both
my God.
Went
It
over.
could come down to the last question.
And which it is, because this is the last question.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
Am I first on this one?
You sure are. And we watched for today's episode an anime film based off of a video game. So, David, I know you love anime a lot. What if a very famous anime got a live-action movie adaptation and that movie was terrible? I'm talking about the PSP video game adaptation of the movie Dragon Ball Evolution. A stinker of a film. They tried to make a live-action Dragon Ball movie in the mid to late 2000s.
And they
And
made
this
a
was
game
a video
off
game
of that.
for the PlayStation Portable. I don't know if it was on other systems. What do you think Dragon Ball Evolution got?
38. Wow.
You got to really, I think,
This is...
pick what you want to, what strategy you want to do here.
It's the last question. We know we're not going to get a tiebreaker unless you both go over.
I mean, I know what you could
This
do,
is...
but it's risky.
God damn. I don't think it's going to be... I'm going to say 24.
Okay. David
What was
says
the last one?
24. Last game, Dead or Alive
38.
Paradise, was a 38. So he's not too close to either edge here. Devin.
I got to go over 25.
Devin says 25.
I could see it being Ethan coded that he then just does
It's
one
like
below.
5.
Oh, you
did this-
oh, I see.
You
I
did a
see.
bunch of dips, and now
wow,
it's going to go
true.
back to just...
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm just
That's
going to
what I was
play it.
worried
I'll
about,
seal
but I
my
couldn't-
fate. Yeah.
All right, drum roll, please. Whoever's going to edit this, which is not me. I love it. Devin has to put up every single box art on screen here when he
yeah,
does
it's gonna suck.
the breakout. All 17 games.
Sucks.
The Metacritic score for Dragon Ball Evolution. I will say this. Neither of you went over. The answer is 25. No, sorry. The answer is 28. But Devin got it right with his 25. Sorry. I ruined that climax there. The answer is 28. Dragon Ball Evolution
God
is the
damn it,
lowest
he
rated
pulls
game
it
on
through.
Metacritic for the PSP. So this is the bottom. I picked the last game to have at the
Wow.
bottom as well. He pulls
God, I was
through
close.
right
Oh,
at the goddamn
the streak
end.
continues.
Four
Had to come
off.
back to earn it. Oh,
But
that's
David, you put
heartbreaking.
in such a good show for this one. Here's
you,
Devin's
even though I-
16th trophy.
Thank you.
Hey,
My
I mean,
God.
you've had blowouts before where I'm like, should you even
Oh, I
bother?
know.
Should we just
Yeah.
cancel this because David's not actually gonna try?
But to get that
but he
close, and
tried.
still not get the W. I
It's-
don't know what that feels
right
like.
to the. It's right to the heart.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
to the
yeah,
heart.
yeah, yeah.
Not
This
looking
was-
forward to the next one.
I loved. Oh, the next one's the next one. Yes. So we have 2 more game shows and then our finale. And that's going to be a very interesting finale folks are going to want to tune into. Thank you, Devin and David, for playing. Devin got his 16th trophy right there. Crazy. We've seen literally the heights and bottoms of the PSP.
That
I'll
was
say
probably the
this.
most back and forth one I think we've ever done. Like that
Yes,
was
for
actually
sure.
crazy.
The tiebreaker. The tiebreaker was going to be what the highest game on Metacritic is. So Persona 3 Portable was the 3rd highest rated. I was going to have you guys guess what the highest number was, which was a 91. So it wasn't that much
would've been
higher.
tough.
I would have said 99 just for see if they would go one up.
100?
100.
It's 100 actually. It makes sense. It's gotta be 100.
And I mean, like, there's a lot of good games on PSP, and there are some stinkers. They generally tend to be movie tie-ins and that type of stuff. But I mean, that's just kind of how it goes, right? With licensed video games. Well, that's what happened. That's why the whole thing. That I replaced the wrong image.
So
and you know what? We're gonna stay on this screen because the other screen got swapped with the wrong thing. So thank you everyone for watching this episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Hey guys, remember, we're on podcast services everywhere you listen: Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere else on the internet.
Snatcher.
Grinder.
Yes, I had to think of there for a second there.
Is that a real one? I thought I made that up.
I don't remember.
Snatcher doesn't sound like
I mean, it sounds bad. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Follow me on Snatcher.
It does sound.
It has
bad,
a ring to
but,
it. A bad ring.
I lied. I have this layout again anyway. I just stalled to do that. Yes,
There
we're
I
also here on YouTube. I hope you're watching the YouTube video. If you're not, please go over to youtube.com/@srank and click subscribe. And then, check out our other video game movie reviews. We got a lot more in the can. This season has 2 more left. And we'll see who wins the overall and who wins the game shows as well. So thank you, David. Thank you, Devin. And thank you out there.
You're welcome.
As we always like to end this episode we say Persona.
Persona.
Yeah, bye. Oh, no, I haven't been recording. Just kidding.
Yeah, that would suck.